So we are here at the stand of Teads in dmexco 2017 with Marc Zander. He's the Global Vice President Client Partnerships in Teads. Hello Marc, how are you?
Very good.
I hope fine. I want to ask you some things about your company. Teads has revealed a new positioning based on the claim clean advertising. Which is the reason for this change and what does it mean, please?
So I think the first thing I would say is actually that I don't think it's a change. I think it's something that has always been very much part of everything that Teads is about.
Okay.
So Teads very simply is about three things. It's about first delivering mass reach. The second is about delivering great viewability. And the third is about great brand safety. And if you think about it from a brand perspective, and I spent 25 years on the client side, I want to reach as many people as possible with my advertising. I want them to see it all because I make content for people to see it. And I also want to make sure that people are seeing it in the right place and that I actually know where people are seeing it. And that really is what clean advertising is about. And so Teads isn't suddenly saying this is about clean advertising. We've always been about clean advertising, but we're just being much more overt in telling people about all the great stuff that we're doing and all the ways that we believe we can help brands be much more effective in growing their brands through advertising.
And also, Marc, I want to ask you about viewability, no? Viewability is a major issue in the marketing industry nowadays, no? How does Teads address this issue?
So, viewability is one of the big issues for any advertiser. And as I said earlier, brands make content so people can see it. So that sounds blindingly obvious. Yet in fact, when they buy media, often they buy plans that are all about just reaching somebody, but actually not making sure that people see all of the content. For Teads, viewability is really, really important. And in fact, the way that we have built our whole proposition is that you actually only pay as an advertiser if someone has completed the whole of the view. So the way that it operates is that actually on the advertising, if less than 50% of the ad is not being seen, the ad physically stops. And that means that as an advertiser, you can be guaranteed that you're only paying if the person has actually fully completed the view. So the brands want to know that the advert has been seen in completion. We can guarantee that it has been seen in completion. That is verified by third parties, so it's not us telling brands. It is being audited to say, yes, that's actually what has been seen. And viewability of content is critical to getting people to understand the brand message and to getting them to buy the product.
Okay, it's one of the points of this year's dmexco, I think. Viewability, ad fraud, transparency, all these things.
Yeah.
Also, Marc says yesterday, he's the CMO of Procter & Gamble. I think it's one of the problems the agencies, the advertisers see at this moment, and you, the industry, have to solve this. No? And I think you are doing it well indeed, and it's very important. No?
Yes, absolutely, I agree 150%.
Okay. Okay, transparency, another issue in this year's dmexco. Transparency between brands and the agencies has been under scrutiny lately. But advertisers also claim for transparency with the media partners. How to rebuild trust between buyers and sellers of digital media, Marc?
So as Mark Pritchard has said very clearly,
yesterday,
transparency is really, really important. And we believe 100% in transparency. So everything that we do with our client partners is audited by third parties. So the big problem with many parts of our industry is that they are marking their own homework. And you heard Marc Pritchard talk about that. So if you pay me to do something, I tell you I do something, and you say, well, how can you prove that? And I say, well, I've checked it. How can you trust that?
Yeah.
Whereas if you pay me to do something, I tell you I've done it, a third party and a very reputable third party, so it's about the people that are being used by brands, check that and say, yes, we guarantee that this has happened. That's how you address the transparency piece. And every bit of inventory from Teads is auditable by third parties, be it Moat, be it IAS, or whoever the brands decide they want to work with. So we won't tell them, you have to work with this or that. We will say, who do you trust? We will get them to mark our homework, and then you can see the results 100%.
Okay. Since YouTube's controversy, brands have become more concerned about brand safety. No? Which are the key factors when it comes to ensure a safe place for brands? No? They don't want to be near videos from terrorists and all these things. That's one thing we saw this year. So how is the solution there?
So I know this problem very well as someone who used to run brands, because when I ran the global media business for Mars Chocolate, we actually had an incident of brand safety exactly as you talked about our content appearing in front of terrorists. Now, the really important thing therefore is that brands need to be able to be confident that where they are putting their content is in a safe place. And that is so important, because the number one thing that someone who looks after a brand has got to do is to grow the brand, but also to protect the brand. Okay? Therefore, from our perspective, there are several key things that make Teads inventory very safe. The first is all of our inventory is in premium quality publishers, which is a very big difference from, let's say, YouTube and Facebook. If you have user-generated content, you cannot control what goes in that content. And if you look at the amount of video that is uploaded every minute onto YouTube, onto Facebook, there is no way they can control that. If you look at where our inventory is in premium publishers. It's in Vogue, it's in Elle, it's in the Times, it's in the Telegraph. So, and at the most simplistic level, you do not have terrorist content in the Times and the Telegraph. So that's the most simple way to describe it. The second really important point is, if I'm a brand, even if I'm in, let's say, a newspaper like the Telegraph, there are certain times where I don't want to be associated with certain articles. So if I am British Airways and there's been an unfortunate plane crash, I don't want to advertise next to that plane crash, because that's not good for my brand. So we use a technology called Grapeshot that we identify with the brands certain keywords that they don't want to be associated with. So if we took airlines, it would be plane crash, it would be long queues, it would be delays, etc. And what happens is that technology scours every single word in that article and makes sure that the ad therefore isn't put in a place that the brand doesn't want. So that's another way to make sure that you get very good brand safety. So it's where is the content and how are we making sure that it's not put in the wrong place.
Okay, very important what you say. What is the role of technology in optimizing investments and improving the quality in advertising?
Technology has a massive role to play in improving the effectiveness of advertising. So I come from a business at Mars Chocolate, where TV was a very big part of where we advertise. And TV is a very good medium. But what we're seeing...
It's not dead.
It's definitely not dead. I do not believe it is dead. But what we are seeing is at the end, and for certain audiences, especially younger audiences, it becomes more difficult to attract those. And if I look at my children and I look at where they consume media, they're no longer watching it on TV, they're watching it on mobiles, etc., etc. So what technology has done is actually, rather than saying people are watching less video, technology has enabled people to watch a lot more video. They just watch it in different ways, in different places. Technology also enables us to target much more effectively and efficiently. So if I take an example of pet care, why advertise to 100 people if only 20 have got dogs? So if I can advertise just to those 20, I can spend a fifth less of my budget and still have the same effect. So if I double the frequency, I've still spent a lot less money, but I have much, much greater impact. And there's lots of really, really interesting opportunities from a creativity perspective as well to leverage technology to actually either retarget people. So I know you've seen one of my ads, I retarget you with a different message, or I know that you like a certain type of, you like sports, so I give you the sports example of my ad versus the music example of my ad. So creativity and technology are really interwoven and provide massive opportunities for both effectiveness and efficiency in media.
And we will see also more opportunities because technology is always growing, always going upstairs, always going forward. So we will see next years, I think, a lot of new interesting things. We are not boring here in this sector.
The media sector is a really exciting area.
There has been a little agreement in this industry on which are the best ways to detect and prevent ad fraud. What is Teads doing in this field?
So what is excellent about what Marc Pritchard has done as the CMO of the biggest advertising company is being very, very clear on what he believes, not just Procter & Gamble, but the rest of all marketing should be looking for, which is around making sure that you're getting great viewability, so people are actually, that it's being watched by real humans, that there's full transparency, and that there's no fraud in the system. And I think what is absolutely critical is that all media providers like Teads deliver against all of those. And from our perspective, we're very happy with what Marc said, because we tick absolutely every one of the boxes. What you will have heard Marc Pritchard say yesterday is that one of the key ways they are measuring this is through tag certification, which is an external certification. We have gone through the process with P&G, and we will be certified from the beginning of October, and we are one of the first to do that, which is just one of the many ways that shows that Teads is right at the forefront of making sure that we are best in class from viewability, transparency, and no ad fraud.
And how to improve digital video advertising when it comes to creativity? Okay, you speak.
Sorry, what was the question?
Yes, the last one.
How to improve digital video advertising? Okay.
You spoke about the technology and creativity. Some more tips you can say about this?
So I think there are, as we talked about earlier on, there is unlimited opportunities for creativity, and I think that the critical thing is to identify what are going to be the big areas of opportunity and what are the nice glitzy shiny stuff but that actually don't add any value, because fundamentally advertisers advertise their product to sell more. So will this thing look great, or will it actually help advertisers to sell more? One of the things you heard yesterday from Marc Pritchard was around a move to one-to-one mass marketing. And I think one of the really exciting, a couple of the really exciting areas we're exploring is one about audio. So we have this year launched a chatbot with Tommy Hilfiger that enables you to interact immediately with the content and actually go and buy stuff. And for a 15-second ad, or people are spending up to 2 minutes interacting with that. So the brands are getting a lot more effectiveness by using creativity tools. We're taking that to the next stage by bringing in audio. So we're working with Amazon and Alexa to take that to the next stage. Because if you think about when you're using mobile, you want to talk into your mobile rather than type into your mobile. And the next stage in one-to-one marketing is what we call dynamic creative optimization. So this is by knowing who is actually watching that ad. You take one core ad with the same start and the same middle, and you change the middle bit, so it's the same start and the same end, and you change the middle bit depending on the consumer. So if you're buying a car and you're really interested in ecology, then the start will be, see this great car, the end will be, the car is X, and the middle bit will all be about how ecological the car is and how well it performs from that perspective. If you're all about design, you'll have the same start and the same end, but the middle bit will all be about design. If you're around safety and family, the same start, the same end, etc. So data and creativity enables you to do mass marketing, but really on a one-to-one, because what you see and what I see and what the person over there see will be completely different based on what their likes and what their interests are. And we believe that that's an area that will make advertising even more effective than it is today.
What do you think about this fair? This is in 1 hour we closed the doors here, I think, in the dmexco in Colonia. How was it for you this year in comparison to other years? What do you think about this edition?
So I have to admit, this is the first time I've been here.
Okay, so you cannot compare.
The first time I've been here is one thing. The second is, you know, for the last 6 years I've been working on the brand side, running the Mars global media budget. So I've started in a very different role. So I think it's an amazing fair. It's chaotic. There are so many people in a small place.
Yes.
There are lots of really interesting people with lots of interesting messages. And like everything on all these things, there is a lot of good stuff and a lot of not so good stuff. I think what I've enjoyed personally is we've had a great mix at the Teads stand of brands. We've had people like the CMO of Unilever, we've had Jerry D'Angelo, who's the global media director of Procter's, who I know well, and a lot of very senior people coming to see us. We've had some great publishers. We've had some really interesting agency meetings, and I've been fortunate also to be able to go to the main hall and hear some of the top people in the business, and Mark Pritchard was for me the highlight of the session in terms of learning new stuff. And what I liked most about the Mark Pritchard presentation was the consistency. So what he's done very well is say, this is what I believe we should be doing. He then repeats it on a very consistent message, internally, externally. So there is a very, very consistent message. He's really challenged the industry to step up, and he's also been very clear that the brands that step up, unfortunately at Teads we're in a great place because we're there already, but if you step up, great, and Procter's will play with you. If you don't, they will cut you off, and that's a carrot, but it's also a stick, which I think is great. And then the final bit is that whilst he's very consistent in his message, he also keeps raising the bar. So he talked about expanding into mass one-to-one marketing. He talked about media for growth and for good, and I think that's very inspirational. So I think what is great again from a Teads perspective is we are a business that is growing massively. We believe that we can provide tremendous opportunities for brands because we deliver mass reach, we deliver best-in-class viewability, we deliver best-in-class brand safety and transparency, which is really important. And there is a lot we can do to also help brands in the development of their creative video to make their advertising even more effective. And my personal belief is that the creative is such a critical part of the media process because 2/3 of media effectiveness comes from the quality of the creative. So we can put together the best media plans on the best technology like Teads, but if the advertising is poor, the impact is irrelevant. So we have to work very closely with brands to make sure we bring media and tech right at the heart of the creative process. And when we do that, brands really win. So the advertiser wins because they sell more, the user wins because they see less bad advertising, the publisher wins because the user's happy because they see less bad advertising, and Teads win because we work on a cost per completed view. The better the content, the less impressions we have to give away. So the worst thing for us is poor quality content. So we're working very closely with brands in terms of how to help advise them to make good content and how to pre-test their content to make sure that before they spend their money, they're sure that it's going to work.
Okay.
And that's what's really exciting.
We'll hope all these things will happen.
They're happening now.
And they're happening now, and they will have to happen more. So everything will be more happy and everything will be better in this branch, in marketing and advertising.
So my belief is absolutely that. And the reason that I left a big business like Mars, to work for a company like Teads is because we have tremendous potential, and our ambition is to become the #4 player in this market. So you have Google, you have Facebook, Amazon will be very big, but Teads is really fantastically placed. In 12 months' time when we're talking together,
we'll talk again.
We'll be having a discussion about just how we're delivering even better against the stuff we've talked about.
Thank you very much, Marc, for your time. Wish you a nice weekend. I think everybody now has to slow down.
I think we all deserve a good weekend.
And thank you very much.
It's been a pleasure.